Hello everyone, welcome to There's a Book in My Nook. We were off last week because Karen was on vacation. And so this week we're starting up again, and I'll go first with Monument 14, Sky on Fire. And this is the second installment of a 3-book series. I already did the first one months and months ago. We actually used it for our book club, and I really, really like it. This is by Emmy Laybourne, and this is the story of two brothers. And in the first one, there's like an end of the world sort of thing where there's all these natural disasters happening. And this is where their bus driver on the way to school, they're all in a school bus from kindergarten all the way up to seniors in high school. She crashes into the side of like a super Walmart to get them out of the elements because there is huge hail and like acid rain and all these things coming down, and they don't know why. So they go into the Walmart and they seal up around the bus to keep the chemicals and stuff out. And that's what the first book is about what's going on. Okay, the second book takes off, and it's got about two brothers, Dean and Alex, that were in the first book. And one of them, Alex, has gone on the bus with several other kids to try and get help. Dean has stayed back at the Walmart with several of the other kids. So you've got two different views going on in this. Alex's view and what's going on with him and the kids on the bus, and Dean, what's going on to the kids that are still back at Super Walmart. It's just as exciting as the first. You've got when they're on this bus, they're finding out that as they're traveling, there's places in the road where there's tons of cars piled up, there's tons of bodies. It's really yucky, to be honest, and they're trying to find help. And they can't trust anybody. Several times people are trying to jump on the bus, and some of these people are crazed, and there's just a whole bunch going on there. Plus, they have Braden with them, and if you read the first book, I don't want to spill too much in case you haven't. Braden's hurt, we'll put that way, and they've got him on the bus that they're trying to get to help as well. And then back at the Walmart, there's Dean and Astrid and three little ones that are back there. And it's what's going on with them, and people are still trying to get into the Walmart and get out of the elements, and they're trying to fight them off. So you have a lot of action in these books. And the third one just came out, and I think it's Monument 14. I can't think of the name of it.
It is Monument 14.
Yeah, they're all Monument 14.
Oh.
But this one's Sky on Fire. The third one, I can't remember what it's called, but it was just released. So this is a really good, I think, book for boys and girls because it talks about both, and I think this would be good for junior high up through high school. So I recommend this one. And if you like end of the world, apocalyptic sort of books, a couple others that I recommend.
Well, how is the end of the world? I mean, what is this? Did somebody attack us? Is this a natural disaster?
It doesn't really ever tell you. You know, it kind of makes you think of what happened is there's like these nuclear reactors. There's like they call it the 4 points of the world.
Uh-huh.
Or I don't know if it's the world or the United States, to be honest, but there's 4 different nuclear reactors. When something happens, it triggers all of them to spill out these chemicals. And that triggers all these natural disasters to happen.
So you don't know if this happens just in the United States or if it happens all over the world?
I don't remember if they say that. I think they're just talking about, the kids don't really know because they're locked in this Walmart. They don't really know what's going on. They just know that there's been these huge hail. They know that there's been, if you go outside, depending on your blood type, certain blood types react differently to the chemicals in the air. Some become violent, some get huge blisters all over their face and die almost instantly. Others doesn't seem to affect them as much. So, they really don't know what happened. That's why they're trying to get to a base. There's no
cell phones? Nobody has cell phones to
none of them
contact
work.
anybody? Oh,
nothing works.
Okay,
when this happened, it's like everything's gone.
Okay.
Yeah, they try and get all the stuff to work and nothing will work. So they can't
Okay.
make any communication.
Okay.
And another good one is, I think I've talked about this one before. It's The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. This is also about an end of the world scenario, but this is when aliens came in, and the fifth wave is the 5th series of events they've done. They've unleashed a plague through birds. They've done actual military combat. There's been
This is a series, isn't it?
This is the first. Series. It might be, but this is the first book. The second one hasn't been out.
Okay.
And then there's one of the other things they've done is they've cut off all communications. There's been natural disasters also with this one. So this is about this girl and how she's trying to survive, and she's one of the last humans alive and what she's going through. It's really good. And another one is Article 5, and this is by Kristen Simmons. And this is kind of in a futuristic world. I don't know if I would say it's the end of the world, but this is where there's no more police. Everything's governed by soldiers. And Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and New York have been abandoned. So they're no longer functioning cities. Everyone lives in these small areas. Soldiers roam. You can't I mean, you don't get arrested anymore. I shouldn't say don't get arrested. You don't get fined anymore for small things. You get arrested and people never hear from you again. So, like, you can't read certain books. You can't be out after certain times of the day. I mean, it is a strict, governed society. And this is her story. She's 17 years old. Her name is Ember. And this is what's going on with her during this society. I have not read this one, but it is a series, and I have heard good things about it. And we do have this here at the library.
Is this the first book in the series?
Yeah, this is the first one.
How many books are there?
I think there's 3, yeah.
Is it a trilogy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all the other 2 are out?
Yeah, and we have them here. So.
Interesting.
But yeah, most of the kids have really liked the Monument 14, like I said, because I think it talks about, different age levels, boys and girls. I think it appeals to a lot of different kids, adults. I really liked it. And think about being in a super Walmart and making that your society, because that's kind of what they're doing.
So when the book ends, are they still in the Walmart, or are they trying to get out of the Walmart?
And when the first book ends, they're all trying to get out. Half of them, like I said, go on the bus, half stay there.
Okay.
The ones that have the blood type that make them violent to leave, stay there. The ones that are okay, go out on the bus. And that's what this book is about, is the ones that stayed there and the ones on the bus. And you hear it from both sides of the story, what's going on with them.
And you just say the next one's out?
The next one is out, yeah. Savage Drift, that's it. I just thought of it all of a sudden. It's Monument 14 Savage Drift is the name of the third and last one.
Is that the last one in the series?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So it'll tell you how everything...
Yeah, Yep.
It'll be interesting to find out what happens.
So yeah, it's pretty good.
Is it the end of the world as we know it, or will they have to change?
I mean, if anyone who's ever remembered Chernobyl.
What?
Chernobyl.
What's that?
Okay. Chernobyl was a huge disaster in Russia. It was a city that had nuclear reactors. They became active, and they had to evacuate everyone because of the radioactivity.
That wasn't too long ago.
It was like in the 70s, I think.
Oh, well then, that's not what I'm thinking of.
And the town is still vacant, and you can go in there now for short periods of time. They lead tours through it.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, everything was left just the way it is. If you ever get a chance, look up Chernobyl. It's fascinating. I mean, it had an amusement park. It had everything, and it's just left there because of the radioactivity. And
so they take tours through a radioactive?
Now they do. You have to wear suits, and the radioactivity levels have went down because that was a long time ago. And you can only be these short tours they take through there. Yeah. And there's been all these rumors that,
So you pay to get radioactive?
Well, you won't because you're in a suit.
Still.
People do
it. What if the suit has a tear? What if the suit is...
They say you can be there for short periods of time, that it's not so radioactive like it was.
But how are they containing it in the city? How did it not spread?
Because all around Chernobyl is like woods. It was a city that was surrounded by a wooded area.
Still, it's in the air.
I'm just telling, there wasn't a city close enough to it to become infected. You'll have to look up Chernobyl. It's very interesting. There's been lots of horror movies made about mutants from Chernobyl and things that are still living there.
I've never heard of that.
I can't believe you've never heard of Chernobyl.
No.
Yeah. That's a history
Wow.
lesson today.
Learn something new every day.
You'll have to look up Chernobyl. It was in Russia.
How do you spell that?
It's with a C. C-H-E-R. I'm not for sure.
C-H-E-R-R-A? Or is it Chera?
I think it's Chera. Noble. Well, I'm not for sure, but I know it starts with a C. You look it up. It's in Russia.
China, Japan? Oh,
Russia. It's in Russia.
Wow.
I just watched a documentary not too long ago, about a couple weeks ago, actually, about the huge amount of wolf packs that have now moved into this area. And are the wolves bigger because of the radioactivity? There's a ton of wolf packs there, and some of them are extremely large wolves, and they're thinking that it could be because of the radiation.
But you wouldn't think that they would be able to stay alive.
They are.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So humans have to wear a suit, but the animals don't.
Well, they said people could probably go in now and not have to wear a suit, that it's been long enough, but they're not wanting to take chances to do that.
Wow.
We all know that after this, Karen's going to be looking up Chernobyl.
You got that right. But to think that actually somebody's going to pay to go into a radioactive place is just beyond me.
It's pretty creepy if you see the pictures, because everything was just left.
You know, I think I have seen that, where I have seen the amusement park. Where I've seen like bumper cars that have left and they're rusted, and there's like a coating over them. And,
everything
stuff
was
like
just
that.
left. They had hours to get out. He's like, get out now. They left everything behind.
Must not have been a very populated area.
Right. Well, it's Russia. Russia's huge. I mean.
Right. But I mean, did everybody make it out?
I don't know. I'm sure there was. I know there was a lot of people that were very, very sick. A lot of cancer resulted from it.
Really? Wow. Okay. Well, and here I'm going to talk about the American flag. Kind of seems a little lame after this. No, the American flag is never lame. One of the books that I read, what is it? June 14th is Flag Day. So that's why I did some flag books. And I did the most recommended ones. The first one is in the children's easy nonfiction. And it's called Red, White, and Blue, The Story of the American Flag. And it tells you that they, how the flag started. And it was actually George Washington and a committee. What it was is each colony had their own flag at the time. You could put anything you wanted. Some had a big rattlesnake in the middle and it said, "Don't tread on me."
Right, I've seen that one.
Yeah, they had one, at first they adopted a big pine tree. And I forget the Liberty Tree. It was something like that. Anyway, they felt like when they were getting ready for the Revolutionary War that they needed a flag to show that America was united. And so George Washington went to this lady whose name happened to be Elizabeth Ross, and she was a very talented seamstress. And her husband had died in a previous war, and she was a widow, and they asked her to sew the flag. And George Washington and a committee got together, along with Benjamin Franklin, and I think John Hancock was another one that was in the committee. Anyway, they came up with the stars, the stars, the stripes, and they also came up with the colors. And what they did was, what they wanted to do is they still wanted to have some sort of, to relate back to the mother country, which was England. And so that's what the white stripes were for. Oh no, I take that back. They chose red for the mother country, but then they used the white stripes to put that they were separating from the mother country. That's why we have the white stripes. And red is supposed to stand for brave, white stands for pure, and blue stands for true. And then the stars they took from heaven. And when George Washington gave all he said was that it had to have stripes and stars, and he said there was no specific place that they had to be. Some people had stripes going this way, and like a thing down here where the stars were, they had it all different places. They used to have a circle.
I've seen the
up
circles.
Here. They've had it in the middle with stripes on each side. And the actual flag that they took into the Revolution actually had 15 stars and stripes, because at that time Kentucky and I forget what other state had joined the Union, and so they wanted to represent, because that's what they were going to do. They were going to add a stripe and a star for each state that joined the Union. Well, then the flag got too big. It just got too big, and so they decided to not do the stripes anymore, and that they were just going to do stars to represent the new states that were going to come in. And that was the flag. The one that had the 15 stripes was the one that Key had written the Star Spangled Banner about. And let's see here. Let me give you one other little thing about here. Oh, when the Civil War broke out, the Confederate states that wanted to break away from the United States, the Union said, okay, fine, you want to break away? We were going to take away your stars and the stripes. But Lincoln said no, because he was pretty sure that they would all become united again, and so he said, we want to leave the flag intact as much as possible. And if you want a little more detail, I'm sorry, this was written by John Herman. If you want a little more detail about the American flag, and this goes back to, this really goes back to like the very, very first flag when they came over from England and all that. This is the story of the American flag by Wayne Whipple. And that's our flag. So make sure that you hang your flags out for June 14th.
My second book this week is The Beginning of Everything, and this is by Robin Schneider. And this is about Ezra Faulkner. And Ezra is a star tennis player. He's actually the captain of the tennis team. And he's at a party with his girlfriend. They kind of get into a little squabble. And as he's taking off and leaving the party, he's hit by another car and it does irreparable damage to his knee. So he can no longer play tennis. And it's about when he comes back to school, he just doesn't know where to fit in anymore. I mean, the jocks try and still be nice to him, but he feels like he just can't relate with them anymore. His girlfriend, he found out while he was in the hospital, started dating one of his friends on the tennis team. And that's the other thing. While he was in the hospital, none of his friends came and saw him. None of them. They were too busy with their own lives, and he kind of feels like, if they were really that good of friends, they would have cared more. So the first day of school, he's got a cane. He's kind of hobbling around. People are staring. And one of his friends from Wacken Elementary School comes up to him and is the only one who tries to make him feel better and starts talking to him. So he kind of starts hanging around him, even though they're kind of known as a little nerdy, his group is, and they're big in the debate team. So he gets and joins the debate team with them and starts hanging around this group. Well, there's a girl that's new to the school called her name's Cassidy, and he starts hanging around her, but she acts really guarded. There's just something not right. I mean, she used to be this big deal on the debate team at her old school, but yet she doesn't want to debate on this team, and you can just tell she's just a little different. Well, of course, all of his friends are kind of teasing him for who he's hanging around with, and it's kind of about finding yourself, in my opinion. It's about, if you lose your ability to play baseball, basketball, football, are those friends going to still be your friends, or were they only your friends because you had that interest? And once that interest is gone, the friendship is gone too. And that's kind of what it's about, because true friends, it shouldn't matter. They should just want to be around you. And that's what this story is about. And you'll also find out about what Cassidy's secret is and how that ends. I do have to admit, I wasn't thrilled with the ending in this book. This is not a book with a particularly happy ending. So I was a little disappointed in the ending. I kind of thought, this is it. This is where you're leaving this. But otherwise, it's a really good book. It does make you think a lot. But I think I would have maybe done the ending a little differently myself. And if you like this type of book where it's kind of about finding yourself and teen problems and all that, a couple others I would recommend is Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. I love this book. I've read it. I would read it again. I love it. Every kid I've known that I've recommended this to has loved this book. And this is the story of these two kids, Park and Eleanor, obviously. And Eleanor is new to the school. Park has kind of always tried to lay low. He doesn't want anyone to notice him. He just wants to stay out of trouble, go to school, be done with it at the end. Eleanor comes to school. She's got this really long, wild, red, curly hair. She dresses differently because her family doesn't have any money, so she kind of makes her own clothes. So she stands out. Instantly, the kids start picking on her, and Park has no idea why he does this, but he stands up for her and tells her she can sit with him, and that starts this whole process of them being friends and eventually being boyfriend and girlfriend.
Is Park a popular kid?
No.
Oh, okay.
I would say he just lays low. He's just one of those that you just don't really notice.
Does he have friends?
Yeah, he's got some friends,
okay.
But he's just not, you know what I mean? He's just one of those kids that no one really has anything bad to say about him, but no, people don't really have much to say about him at all. He just kind of fades into the woodwork sort of guy. So it's about that, and it's about her home life is really bad. I mean, they have no money. And when I mean no money, I mean she doesn't have money for batteries for anything. She has to scrounge around for batteries to listen to anything. There's 6 kids in one bedroom. I mean,
So is it a big deal to the school when he befriends her?
To the school?
I mean, do other kids
the other
take a
kids,
notice?
well, the ones that are picking on her on the bus, now they see him as a target as well.
Oh.
Because he's defending her, so they're going to start riling him up as well.
I see.
What they don't know is Park is a black belt. He hasn't told anyone this. He's always taught not to fight unless he has to. So it's not like he can't defend himself, and they find that out really quickly, let's put it that way. But she's got a lot of problems, home life, and she starts getting these really nasty messages on her binder. They're really sexual, horrible things. She doesn't want to tell anybody. Park finds out. He's mad that she didn't tell him. And, she's scared because these are bad. I mean, and it's about who does it, and you won't believe who the person is in the end that they find out is leaving these messages for her.
Do you think there'll be a book after this?
There's been speculation. I know I would love to see a second book. I know a lot of people would. She wrote a different book instead. She wrote Fangirl just recently, which I haven't read, but has also done really well. I have not heard of her working on a sequel to this. Okay. I have heard that there might be movie rights bought for this. That's something that's been going around, but I think it would make a great movie. And it was just a really fresh, different book. I really liked it. And another one is The Infinite Moment of Us. And this is by Lauren Miracle. And this is about Ren and Charlie. And this is another one of kind of like, you would never think these two would ever get together. Charlie's always liked Ren. She's never really noticed him. It's about one summer, how they run into each other and how a relationship blooms. And it's kind of, is Ren okay with the fact Charlie's who he is? And what are everyone going to think about them? Because they're so completely opposite. So I have not read this one yet, but I thought it kind of went with these others. So some good reads.
Okay, well, the day after Flag Day will be Father's Day, which is June 15th. And so I thought it would be a good idea to look at movies that were recommended as the best movies to watch with your father, and also books. So I will do the books first. The most highly recommended book that they recommended, well, I guess I just said that twice, this is in the adult nonfiction. It's called Beautiful Boy. I am here to tell you. It's about a father-son who gets addicted to meth. And the relationship, the roller coaster relationship that they have because of this addiction. And his dad took the approach that he was basically fighting a war for his son. And so he wanted to find out as much information about this enemy, which was meth. But not only did he become addicted to meth, he became addicted to alcohol. And it started out with just your simple little pot smoking, and then it went to meth, and then it went to alcohol, and then it went to higher drugs, and then went to heroin, and so on and so on. But every time that he would put his son into rehab, he would think, okay, finally, maybe we've got it licked. And his son went as far as 18 months of sobriety, and he relapsed again. So, it shows, it's the father's always thinking, where did I make the wrong? Was there something I could have done that would have stopped this from happening? Is there something that maybe I did that I shouldn't have done, or is there something I shouldn't have done that I did? And I mean, I'm here to tell you, it is a wonderful book, and he gives a lot of resources for parents who are facing the same thing. He talks about how he has gotten a lot of letters from people because he did not hide anything about the whole relationship that they had during this time. Another book that they recommend. Now the other ones weren't, the other books that they recommended, they were fiction, so they were just like stories of what do I want to say? Fathers' relationships with their kids. And it was always, in these books, there was always like a little trouble with the father. And until some catastrophic event happened with the kid, then the relationship with the father would change. And
I thought this one was based on his life, though.
What do you mean based on his life?
On the authors.
Was that the relationship he had with his father?
Yeah, I thought it was based on some true parts. Maybe it wasn't.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But one of these was, and this is in the young adult section, and this is The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. And this kid, he is an Indian. He lives on a reservation. But he goes to school, and he's in his geometry class. I believe it's his geometry class. And he gets this math book. And he looks at the math book, and you know how you can look in your math book and see who had it before. You can see the kid. He notices his mom had it. And he thought, you know what? Here I am using, what is this? 25 years later.
Yeah.
And we're still using the same math book. And he's thinking, this is wrong. He gets very, very frustrated, and he throws the book, and it hits his teacher in the nose. And so then he's sent to the principal's office. Well, later on, the teacher comes to his house, and he says, I don't want an apology. He says, what I want is for you to get a better life. And so then the kid decides that he wants to go to an all-white school. and that's where um, he ends up going, and then that's when his life changes. And he tells you that his father is a drunk. His dad didn't really take much notice in him until he goes to the white school and he gets on the basketball team, and then the whole relationship changes. And he also has a best friend that kind of ditches him when he leaves the reservation to go to the white school. And it's just a very, very cute, very cute
And I'm
story.
pretty sure it's based on his life.
It could be.
I'm sure it is, because I know Sherman Alexie is Native American.
Yes, he is.
And I'm
That
pretty
is
sure
true.
that this is based on.
And they do give a question and answer thing, but they do more of a question and answer thing. They give you discussion topics to talk about in the back, but they also do a question and answer thing with the lady who illustrated this, and how she got into this kid's head to make these pictures and all that, all
It's
the
a good
drawings
book.
in there. It's a very good book.
Mhm.
It's funny. It's cute. It's what do I want to say? It's an eye opener as to how Indians are portrayed here still in the
Right.
United States.
Even though Karen thought I was crazy when I ordered it.
Yes, I did. Another one is The Bridge to Terabithia. Very cute. Very cute.
Tearjerker.
I didn't cry.
Mm.
Maybe I'm heartless.
The movie's really tear-jerking.
Maybe the movie is a little more
Mhm.
detailed into it. But what it is this is a poor farm kid. He wants to be an artist, but his parents have basically told him, no, it's a waste of time. You're not even going to get the chance. You need to find something else to do. And he has to do a lot of chores on the farm and everything. Well, all of a sudden, this new girl moves into a farmhouse next door, and it changes his life forever. And you'll have to read the, and once again, he has a very distant relationship with his dad, but until there's an event that happens that changes this boy's life, does his father kind of take another look at his son. Another book is called The Wednesday Wars, which was very, very cute. Bridge to Terabithia, that is by Catherine Patterson, and it's in the juvenile department. This one is also in the juvenile department. It's called The Wednesday Wars by Gary Schmidt. This is about a kid who believes that the teacher doesn't like him. And in this school that he goes to, half the part of the school, when it comes in the afternoon, half the part have to go away to a Catholic thing for Catholicism, or that catechism that you do for Catholics, and the other part are Jewish, and they go away to the temple to do their studies for it. He is the only one that, he's neither, he's Protestant.
Oh.
So he's kind of left at the school. Well, guess what? He's going to have to spend the time with the teacher. And what's the teacher going to have him do? Read Shakespeare. That's what the teacher's going to have him do. So every Wednesday, he has to read Shakespeare. And I am here to tell you, it is so funny. But come to find out, he finds an appreciation for the plays. He even ends up being in one. And once again, something happens where he doesn't really have a relationship with his father until something happens to him, and then it changes the dynamics between him and his father. Then the movies, the highly recommended movie, and I still to this day don't understand why they recommended this, To Kill a Mockingbird was the #1 movie that they recommended for a father relationship. And what it is he's a Southern lawyer.
Right.
And he has a very, very close relationship with his daughter and his son. And he goes to prosecute a black man who's been accused of raping a white woman. He's very close to his children, but yet he's very busy with his practice, so he does leave them a lot on their own. However, after the trial, everybody's upset that he represented this black man. And the father of the woman that was raped does something to his children that changes how he, changes the relationship that he has with his children, particularly his son. He's very close to the daughter and doesn't really pay that much attention to the son because he's a little bit older. But once the event happens to his son, then he starts paying a little more attention to his son. The next movie that they suggested was The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith. Love, love, love this movie.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen this? This is based on a true story. And he is this guy, he's kind of poor, and he sells, back in those days, what was called, before x-rays actually became popular, they had bone density machines that doctors would use, and they were poor quality. They didn't take very good pictures. Well, he invests in this business, and what he had to do is he had to buy all the machines, and then he goes and gets his money back, but he makes a commission off each machine. Well, it gets to the point where, once again, x-rays are becoming more popular. A lot of people are not buying these machines anymore, and his wife leaves him. And he says, you can leave, but you're not taking my son. Well, he sees that there's an opportunity that he can get into the apprenticeship for, what's that financial place? Starts with a W. Whitman? No, Whitman? Oh, I can't remember. What's the name of the financial place? But anyway, they offer an apprenticeship, and they take 20 people, and you go and get this apprenticeship, but they're only going to hire one out of that 20. Well, you'll have to watch the movie to see if he gets hired. But it's very, very cute. I mean, the bond that they have, he has to end up spending nights in a mission. There's one night where they have to stay in the bathroom of a subway.
And it's played by his real son in real life.
Yeah, it is his real son. And it's just a very good example of the bond between a father and son that just can't be broken no matter what the circumstances are. Now, this is one of my favorite movies. This was not even on the list of recommendations, but I think it shows a perfect example of a father's relationship, which is Kramer versus Kramer. Oh, now I cry at this movie.
That's
I
a
cry
sad one.
every time I watch it. And I could watch it 20 times and I will still cry. It has Dustin Hoffman and Meryl Streep, and she decides that she wants a better life for herself because he works a lot of hours and doesn't really pay attention to her. So all she's really done is been a housewife. Well, she wants to go find herself someplace, and she doesn't want to be a mother anymore until she can find herself. Well, so he, doesn't really know what to do with the kid because he's never really dealt with him.
Right.
And so now he's forced to deal with the kid. Well, they develop a bond. They develop a routine. She comes back into the picture and wants the boy back. And then they actually go through the proceedings of a divorce and everything. And he says, why is it proven that a mother is a better parent than a father? Why does the justice system always think that a kid belongs with the mother? And and that's basically what this movie revolves around. And you'll have to watch it to see what happens in the end. And then, of course, the last one, I'm not a big fan of this movie.
I like this movie.
And they've made like 1 and 2, isn't there like a 2 or something?
I know there's 2. There might be 3. I know there's 2.
I don't know. But this is Father of the Bride that has Steve Martin in it, and I forget her name.
Kimberly Williams.
Kimberly Williams, okay. The wife of Brad Paisley. This shows the father's relationship from when the girl is very young to when she finally is going to get married, and how, he questions, does my role end once she gets married? What do I do after she gets married? Am I still a father? Am I,
right.
I don't even know where I fit in anymore. And that's what this movie is all about. And I guess, I don't know if every father goes through that.
I don't think everyone does, but I think a lot of them do.
Yeah, I think my dad was like, woohoo! All right, she's gone. Woohoo! You poor sap, you.
I see my husband having major problems with when my daughter gets ready to get married.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's usually the mother who's always all weepy and everything like that. And you gotta, since I'm not a man, you gotta wonder what's going through the father of the bride.
I always remember when I got married, my dad had to walk me. We had a horse and carriage. And before I got in the horse and carriage, we were isolated from everyone else. And I remember him looking at me and saying, "Are you sure this is what you want?
Right.
Because if you don't want, you can back out right now. I won't." He wanted to give me that option.
My dad didn't even ask
that question. My dad did, so.
He's like, "No, you are going."
So yeah, I do remember that moment.
I think he even had a countdown.
So yeah.
So yeah, and so those are all movies that have to do with different aspects of a relationship between a father, because there is kind of a different relationship between a father and a daughter and a father and a son.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah.
I have both boys and girls, so I know that there's a difference. You have boys and girls too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's
Mhm.
definitely a difference.
Right. But because that is with the one To Kill a Mockingbird. That's the thing. He's very protective of his daughter, not thinking that he has to be really protective of his son
Right.
until something happens to the son, and then you think, wow, bad things can happen to each kid here.
Right.
And it's not necessarily gender based on what bad things are going to
But
happen.
I think that in society we do that a lot. We think
Right.
more bad, and there is in general. If you look at statistics, there are more bad things that happen to young girls than young boys. Not saying
Right.
that it doesn't happen to young boys. It does.
Right.
But the statistics do favor.
Right, right. And then, and especially this raises the question, what age does a boy have to be before a father thinks, well, he can defend himself? I mean,
I don't know.
A lot of people think that's 7, 8, 10, 12.
I don't know. I don't think ever. That's my philosophy.
Well, and that's what that beautiful boy was about. Here, and that's what this guy got. Here, his son is addicted to drugs. He's 18. He's an adult. Is this father supposed to just say, okay, you're on your own? I can't help you anymore,
I couldn't do that. Obviously, I still have mine living with me, so I'm.
So, and that's what and then he got a lot of letters from people saying, you know what, just let him sink or swim. It's up to him to want the treatment. It's up to him to get help. It's up to him to make these decisions. And that's what he had found when he went to check him into rehab. You can't do it. He has to want to do it himself. You can't. And if he wants to leave, he's an adult.
Right.
And then that's what the father was saying, but he's not well. How are you letting him go?
They do.
And they're like, sorry, your role's done. You can't. You can pay for it. They
Yeah,
have no problem
they'll let
taking the
you
money.
pay.
Yeah, they'll
No
let you pay
problem
for
there.
it. But you can't, sit there and say that I want him in there for 3 months, or I only want him in there for whatever duration of time you want him in there. Because they say, no, he's an
It's like
adult.
that for health insurance. Once they hit 18, even though they're covered under your health insurance, they don't want to talk to you about what's wrong with them or what's going on.
Exactly.
But it's your insurance that they're pushing through.
Right, and then that's another thing. He would call to find out, treatment of his son. How are things going? Well, I'm sorry, we can't give out that information
Right.
because he's an adult. Unless he signs a waiver saying that we can talk to you about this and depend on what rehab the kid was in. Sometimes he would, sometimes he wouldn't, because he didn't want his dad to know.
Yeah.
That he would find out no information until the kid was released.
Yeah.
Or he called to find out, oh, well, he left a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
It gets crazy. Yeah.
It's that whole relationship. I mean, even with mothers, not necessarily fathers, but it is that adult and child relationship. When does it ever end?
I don't think it ever ends to a certain point. I mean, you're always, I think, going to worry about your kids from forever. I mean,
right.
I don't think you ever quit worrying about them.
And as the years go on, your role changes
It does
as the
change,
years
yeah.
go on. Because then you become a grandmother. Well, are you still a mother or are you a grandmother?
Right, and then I think sometimes it even becomes a reversal of who's the
Well,
parent,
that's
who's
true.
the child at a certain
Yeah.
age too.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
So that wraps that up.
Yep, so that's this week's edition of There's a Book in My Nook, and we'll see you again next week. Let us know if you have any suggestions.